The following program is paid for by the Charlie Butler team. Looking for tips on selling your home? Tune into the Charlie Butler Show right here on WGBF AM every Sunday at 9 a.m. The Charlie Butler Show, where your questions get answers. Charlie guarantees it.
Good Sunday morning, Tri-State. This is the Charlie Butler Real Estate Show. I'm Charlie Butler with my high-paid cast of characters here. They're always wanting more, too. Yeah. And I finally had to tell Jordan, I said, Jordan, I can't pay you more than what you're just going to have to go someplace.
Hold on, you guys were getting paid?
Hey, we are Evansville, Indiana, equivalent to Bob and Tom over here with Candace and I. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
We are.
Bob and Tom years ago, as before you were with me.
Born.
I know Bob and Tom.
Not before. They endorsed me for a while.
Did they really?
Yeah.
I know Bob and Tom.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And when they were on GBF FM.
Well, I can say this. Last week when we were talking about high-speed chase on the radio over DVDs, back in the 90s, I know it was in the 90s, maybe mid-90s, I ordered the Bob and Tom CD collection.
My parents had them.
Had the CDs, listen to the jokes and all the comedians and people.
The animal in the sink. That's my favorite one. Yeah.
Oh, my God. Mr. Obvious.
Yes. Yeah. And there's this switch, and I don't know what it goes to, but man, this thing is so mean.
What are y'all talking about?
I know Bob and Tom very well. Bob and Tom very well.
I bought the CDs back in the day.
So did my stepdad.
And I remember one morning listening to them. The one that sticks out to me was when like a telemarketer would call.
Oh, yes.
And they'd do, he'd say, well, yeah, I'm interested. But I have some questions. What are you wearing? You went on like
kids don't understand. In the mid '90s, there weren't reels and videos and YouTube and all
Bob
that.
And Tom
your entertainment came from a TV or a radio, and that was basically it. And so, and being in the car a lot, that was entertainment. Driving down the road was. Honest to God, in the mid-90s, wasn't cell phones. You weren't conducting business. So if you were in that car, you were trapped until you can get to a payphone.
And if your CD player wasn't working, your CDs would skip. You had to listen to the radio.
Or an 8-track. Right, Charlie?
I'm too young for 8 tracks.
Yeah, I did. I had a great collection of 8 tracks.
Yep. With this suitcase in the back seat.
Yeah, that's what it looked like.
Exactly. I know.
But, out of college, as some of you know, I was in radio, and I bet you, and Jordan, and probably most of the guys in radio now that weren't in it back then would not know what to do. If I told you to do a commercial, Jordan, could you splice? Take a raise. Back then,
yes, I could. It would take a lot of time, though.
Those guys just go through. They stop it real quick. Take a razor blade, cut that out.
Cut tape.
Tape that. Go on.
Yep.
And they do that for the whole commercial, for everything.
Yeah, now I can knock out a commercial in about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And back then, you always knew when the disc jockey, that's what they call them back then, of course.
Oh, yeah.
And I still do.
I do, too.
And
DJ.
You hear like Freebird.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the long song.
Stairway to Heaven. Or if it's been a bad night the night before, the long version of American Pie. and
how many minutes is that song?
I can't say exactly what I used to tell my wife in the car. And she looked, first few times, I would say that, we'll just say it was a diarrhea song. That's not even the words I use. But
it's a bathroom break or a cigarette break.
Yeah, it was a bathroom break or, man, I'm hungover. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I've heard all kinds of interesting stories from back in the day. There's some glory days to that. There's some glory days to that. But then again, the technology is great nowadays. It makes the job way easier.
Yeah. I admit I remember I got a friend at WMIX. He's since passed away. He was program director there, and he told me one day, or he showed me when automation back when I was in the business, this room wouldn't hold everything.
Yeah, technology has really helped out the radio world.
I never did introduce you guys. Just talked about.
No, we just jumped in. Bob and Tom.
That's right.
Bob
over here we got Bob and Tom, also known as the regional director of Churchill Mortgage, David Crow. David covers all of Indiana and all of Kentucky and sometimes Florida.
And sometimes Florida, yes. And I've done a few loans in Florida. When I think what'll happen is when rates drop in 25, I'll probably end up with some refinances in Florida.
So, yeah.
And, it's just been a slower market nationwide for everyone. So, yes, I focus my business in Indiana and Kentucky, most definitely, and work with the realtors. So,
and to David's left, when we want the really crazy stories, that's what we got. She's always got. Candace, I don't know what it is about you, but you got a crazy magnet.
I have a weirdo crazy magnet. There is a neon sign that says right here, I'll stop and help.
I'll stop and help.
But in Candace's defense, she helps everybody. I mean, she does, but I don't know how she does, but she gets them done. You know how many times I've said to Candace, I'd blink and fire them.
Yeah.
And she said, I got to hang in there a little longer.
I'll get them. Get them. And yeah.
And you do eventually. But this Candace,
at the expense of my sanity and my blood pressure.
The president of Butler DeArmond Real Estate, Candace DeArmond, and which also owns the Charlie Butler team. But anyway, we were talking last week about pre-approvals.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And first off, you know what we should do is we should talk about our other sponsor. We talk about Churchill. We should. And our producer should have reminded us last week, but he didn't. So, he's on cruise control now. Now you know why he didn't get a raise. But of course, Churchill Mortgage. David's here every week, and they do a tremendous job. You hear him on Dave Ramsey, I know, and every day on Dave, actually.
Oh yes, every day.
Multiple times,
multiple times every hour. Dave's on a radio or podcast. And all my good friends at Churchill Mortgage.
Yep, and it's been for over 25 years. Now, the number Dave gives is a number in Brentwood, Tennessee, which there's some, it's their home office and some fine folks there that will help you. But if you want to get good local service, and Candace, if you want to find out about the
rights,
call David Crow because David, everybody that goes to him comes back and tells. Mindy Woodward is bragging about you all the time. I
appreciate that. I try to do a good job for everyone I come in contact with.
David, how can they best get hold of you?
Every week, best way to get hold of me and everybody in our industry is cell phone 270-222-0676. You can call or text me. I'll be happy to help you.
Also brought to you by the good folks at Bossy Title. Bossy Title, I have to think, got to be the number one title company in the area.
would think so.
Yeah, I can't imagine they're not. They have specialists there pretty well for everything.
They really do.
And include in-house attorney, just about anything that you could want. And then Jeff Bossy's there for some reason, I know, but we'll think of that. Yeah,
he brings Norm.
He's Norm's chauffeur. Norm, what was it recently? They had that on there. Was it National Dog Day or something?
Oh yeah.
Norm was was celebrating on there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
But Norm is the CFO for those that don't listen every week, which is the chief Frenchie officer. Norm is a French bulldog who usually, unless he's taking a nap, comes out and greets everybody.
Yeah, he does.
And if you have food, he likes it even better.
He does.
But anyway, go see the good folks at Bossy Title. They'll take care of all your real estate needs as far as searches go. And if you're wondering, what may be on a title of a property I inherit, or got a divorce, what did my spouse do to me? I need to know. These are all, we're making fun of it, but these are legitimate things,
Yeah,
so
they really are.
Go to Bossy Title. They can do a judgment search for you quick, and it'll be inexpensive. So just remember Bossy Title, folks. And but anyway, last week we were talking about what were we talking about, Candace?
The rights.
But
And a qualified lender, which David is.
Qualified lender, which is, I think, where we kind of wanted to go today. So, David, one of the things you said last week, to get to qualified lender, because, qualified lenders, just like realtors and every other profession out there, it's like we wind up with Jordan. We wind up with Jordan.
How we wind up with Jordan, yeah.
Yeah.
I think you said it, every industry, and immediately I thought, when you said that, I thought of attorneys and doctors.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Just because they have, quote unquote, the degree doesn't make them all equal across the board.
No, I know a doctor dummy.
I just brought up attorneys and doctors. And
Well, I could really go someplace.
Yeah.
Oh, I know a doctor dummy for sure.
Yeah. So I think, the reality, where we were last week, folks, and we want to convey this week is just, I got to be honest, what's also scary is people go online. They'll go online and they'll hit online and they'll feed all their personal information. God only knows where that's going.
Right.
And it spits out, you're approved. And all of us sitting around here in the studio looking at each other, we've seen, we've heard, we've dealt with horror stories. People think they're approved up to $400,000.
Yeah.
And
they can't buy a cheeseburger.
Yeah, they can't buy It's sad. It's really sad. So Charlie was like, how do you know who a quality lender is? And I liked what Candace said. Get with a quality realtor. They'll help direct you to a quality lender.
That was a good point. But some of these cases, though, I mean, I can remember a case where, and I know Candace has heard this before, but where a very qualified lender, he had someone working for him, and and I didn't pick up on it, but she loves it. We've almost got cleared to close.
Oh God,
we've almost got cleared to close.
Yeah.
I found out from this that it's a death thing. So anyway, it was our largest investor, and who was selling a house. And he called, and he knew guy on the mortgage company. He said, call him and ask him, this is all for real before I keep hanging in there. And so I call him. He said, let me look at it. I haven't even looked at it. I'll call you back. He calls back. He said, Charlie, if they came in here with a sack of cash, I'd have to see 2 IDs.
And folks, Charlie, that's a great story. And we deal with this, and from non-quality lenders. The only thing, whether they truly don't know what they're doing, whether they are praying that something's going to develop, but they're putting all this work on themselves that's never going to come to fruition. This, Charlie's story there. Ultimately, this person was not going to be approved to buy a home. Period. Mm-hmm. But it's wasted everyone's time in the process. And money.
Yes.
Money, especially if you're talking about people doing home inspections, paying for an appraisal with another lender. And I just had one called, and they've done that. And this lender is unable to close them, and I'm just going to give them a good pathway. But I know I'm happy to help you. I know Churchill Mortgage, my underwriting staff, myself, over 20 years of experience. I'm a quality lender. I'm going to tell you where you stand. And good, bad, or ugly, and that's all people want. I think is the truth.
Right?
This is not pie in the sky.
Puppy dogs and ice cream cones whenever they're not. But,
Charlie, and I'll say this, and I've been guilty because some of my past life. Charlie knows I work for a builder, and I've got a home ready to close, and the lender's like, "Hey, we're almost there. Hey, we're almost there," and then they're like, "Oh, I'm going to get this document on Thursday." And then a week goes by. Well, I had to do this, and we're almost there. And we built a brand new home for this person. And next thing I know, I look up, and we're 4 weeks past closing date.
Yeah.
And you think, how in the world did we get here? And you think about all the lies that were told along the way, and then sadly, finally, I'm not going to be able to do the loan. And as a builder, you're putting the house back on the market, because what it really amounts to, you lied to me in the beginning. I built a home, and now there's no way for these people to close. So I just became the owner of a spec home or a home for sale here.
And hopefully they didn't have any custom
very
things
customized
in there.
items. Trust me, that was the first thing I did was, quote unquote, look at the selections inside and outside the home to see how challenging it's going to be to sell to the masses now.
So, but that's, again, I get, you listen to a qualified realtor, but if you're a member of the public they don't do this every day, we just kind of assume that they know more than they know sometimes. Still got to be tough, deciding,
make it easy. Call me.
Exactly.
Good answer.
Yes, that's
Make it easy. Call me, and I'll tell you to call David.
Absolutely.
Because there's a few loan officers, individuals that I don't know how they're still doing loans. There are companies. I mean, really, and we're obviously not going to name any names, but this many years in the industry,
we're all thinking of the same one.
Yes,
we are all thinking of the same one.
And ever so often I'll see a picture on Facebook, and I'm like, I would just wonder. It must have been a really good borrower that accidentally ended up with that individual. So it happens.
David, there used to be somebody here, and I can't say. I got to make sure I don't say the name, but this is pre-08 too. This is how bad it was.
Oh, pre-08 when everyone got a loan.
when everything was legal.
Yeah.
These guys, I became friends with an FBI agent, and he was talking to me and a couple other realtors one day, and he said, "Just so you guys know, this blank lender, we basically park outside his office.
Wow.
We try to watch everything because we know what's going. We know there's things going on. We just haven't been able to catch him."
Yeah,
and that's pre-08.
That's
man.
pre-08, and folks driving down the road. That just all we're saying was that was the wild, wild west when everything honestly seemed like it was above board and legal, no matter how horrifying some of these stories are that Charlie and I talk about. But it wasn't illegal. And the fact that the Phoebes were outside his office, I can only imagine. I just have to think, immediately I'm thinking of money laundering and drugs and everything else on top of lending had to be going on.
Well, I know one thing he was doing. He was taking these, and he did this to a guy who, a client of mine owned a pawn shop here. And a guy that worked for him, he said, "Do you know," and he mentioned these guys' name. Heard of them. I didn't want to say anything, And he said, they told me if I gave them $3,000 up front that they would get me a loan where I'd get a house.
Woo.
So he gives them $3,000, and I've heard from later on from people as much as $30,000-$40,000.
Oh my gosh!
Folks. We have fun talking about those old days, if you will. That's not our world today.
No,
we are so heavily regulated.
And if someone does tell you need to give them something like that,
don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Hey, speaking of which, I won't name any names, and I feel sorry. I feel sorry for individuals. Some of these ads on TV of repair your credit, okay?
Yeah.
And we'll just leave it at that because they're on TV. They're definitely on the internet. And they come to me, and guys, I find people, their credit score is still low. Their debts are still high.
Yeah.
And I'm finding out that they've been paying $250 a month for 18 months to a company to repair their credit.
Yeah.
And my heart goes out to them.
Yeah.
And they're like, "What should we do?" And I'm like, first thing you do is stop.
Yeah.
You can call me for free. I'm going to be able to do at the minimum a soft pull on your credit. I can lay out your steps. But when I see these people, and this isn't just like one or two that these stories are, there are multiple people that have gone through quote unquote credit repair, paying high dollar. I'm sorry, for that borrower type, $100 a month is a high dollar amount. And I just don't see the results in the ones I've taken a look at in the last several years. I don't see anybody that said, "Oh yes, I went to XYZ, I paid them this for 18 months, and now I'm ready to buy a home." It doesn't. I think it's all. I can't prove it. I think it's gimmick. I think they're preying on the ignorant and somebody who's already desperate.
Yeah.
And so, if you're listening to me today, stop that. If you're listening to me today, call me. It's free to get pre-approved, and I'll at least tell you where you stand and what to do for free.
I have a question.
Sure.
What about those agencies that you pay us $300 a month and we will pay down your debt we'll keep 15% of each $300
These are the
a month.
things.
And every time someone comes to me and says that they're doing that, I'm like,
Candace, tell them to call me.
You're doing that
I'm
much
free.
money that
Pay
you're
it yourself.
right. You don't need them to pay your debt down.
Negotiate this down,
And they don't. You can negotiate that
They
yourself.
don't. Nope.
I mean, that's
and I'm sure there's employees of those people possibly listening to us right now, and they're like, "Yes, we do." And I'm like, "Well, I haven't seen it.
I have not seen it.
I have not seen.
I've seen
positive
people
results.
get to where they can't afford the payments that they're paying them.
Yes,
and then they quit the program and then don't know. They don't know. They're back at square one. Basically.
I've had a couple situations where people have said their credit was actually worse afterwards.
Yeah.
Charlie, that's what I'm kind of getting at.
Yeah.
That I'm like 18 months in, and I'm doing a soft pull, and I'm like, well, your credit right now is 592, and you've invested 18 months with these people. When are you going to see results? And the sad thing is, as I talk to these borrowers, they just, when I use the word ignorant, I'm not being mean or sarcastic.
They
it
don't
just means
know.
they were not informed. They're still not informed. They think they're taking the right steps, and they're taking the absolute incorrect steps. Yeah, and
They
I deal
don't
with it.
know.
And so ultimately, I just can't stress. I'm free, and it doesn't take me but a few minutes, and I can at least tell you, yes, this is what we can do, or no, you can't right now.
Yeah.
Right now.
Right.
I'm not going to say send me $100 each month for the next 18 months, So I know we didn't plan on speaking of that, but we're trying to help people in our local markets, and that's something I can say as a helping hint to people.
Yeah.
So, Candace, you deal with a lot of people, so from all walks of life. What's the number one thing you hear out there that maybe is a challenge to people right now?
I think inventory is a big thing. Them being able to find a house,
Yes.
especially. I mean, you get into it's hard to find anything below 100,000 that is in good shape. But you get in 150 to 250,000, it's hard to find something. I mean, and you got a lot of competition.
You have a lot of competition in that marketplace.
Here's the one, and I'll just pick on one neighborhood. Candace probably knows where I'm going. North Park.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
From where it was to where it is.
North Park investors used to be. We represented a bunch of them, and they were thrilled when they could get a house and then sell it for $79,900.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then it went to $89,900. And I remember one of them, Dave Herman's been on this show. He said, I made this one really nice. I'm going to go $94,900. I said, Dave, we can't get that much, And, of course, he did. And they are
180 to 200,000, maybe 210 if
investors are paying over $100 for them.
Yeah.
And then rehabbing them.
That's what I was going to say when you said the 150, 250, and it's tough. And the challenge we have is today being 2024, when you look at a 175 priced home, if we rewound 3 years, what would that home have actually sold for 3 years ago instead of 175?
Yeah.
Tremendously lower.
My house I live in right now, $130,000 home, I don't know, 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And now it's a $215,000. That's what there's one on the corner from me. And I don't live in a big home. I mean, it's a
Charlie,
small
we've talked
home.
on, and I honestly, this past weekend, I was having a conversation with some folks, and because of home prices and where things are, and the condition of a home, and the joke was, it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
A person could buy a $200,000 home.
And it was a nice
home, lots of square footage,
swimming pool,
maybe. Ready. Yeah, maybe a swimming pool. Yes, swimming pool in the backyard.
I know.
And now what $200,000 will get you, well, we'll just say it's not that.
No.
And but it's the market we're in. And so I too, as a lender, will try and set expectations with borrowers when they call me early on, and what they're looking to get versus where prices are today. And our prices, it doesn't matter, folks. If you're in southern Indiana or western Kentucky, these prices are the same across the board.
Yeah.
So, and even in very rural settings, which traditionally brought less money, okay, than having the conveniences of in town. And so the fact of the matter is, those you brought up 100,000 earlier, and I just about chuckled.
Yeah.
And then yes, people want that monthly payment, but finding that on the market that's quote unquote move-in ready,
not
very
easy.
limited. Very limited.
Yeah. You might get a unicorn every once in a while. But
And they do, a unicorn will pop up,
Yeah,
but
it
it's
will.
not the. And then, guys, the other thing we struggle with as lenders and realtors, we get borrowers that say, "Well, they're asking $250. I want to lowball this. I want to say, I'm going to give them $200." And we all laugh.
What are
and
you
go,
doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not getting it. So,
Yeah.
You're just going to insult them.
You're going to.
Yeah.
It's that the market's that tight out there right now.
Oh, very
Absolutely.
much so. Yeah, there was. Yeah, the lowballing thing. Whenever clients are coming in and saying that, I mean, there's sometimes where something is overpriced, and
Yeah.
Now, that's the thing. You can find out. That's why I tell them you have to work with your realtor. They will determine if it's market
overpriced
value
or not.
or grossly overpriced.
Right?
And then
Are they just is the seller just throwing something out there
Well-
to see what sticks, or can they actually get that for that property? And
Things have even changed for investors because investors used to, their whole theory would be, okay, we'll go out, we'll make 10 offers.
Yes.
I'll get one. Okay, it's no big deal. But we'll pick one up and we'll buy it cheap. Now they're like everybody else. They're like, I don't want to insult those people, So I'm going to offer this, which is way more than they would ever offer before.
Oh yeah,
but the return is
if
there.
if they know what they're doing, they've got the staff, they will make money on that.
Yeah.
yeah,
And so, but there's, I guess I'm sitting here with Charlie's story. I'm just saying, folks, get pre-qualified.
Yes.
The reason is being pre-qualified, we get an idea on the property taxes, an idea on homeowners insurance, idea on everything. You find out a monthly payment, which will then steer you to the price point that you need to be looking at in the market. And it may take you longer of waiting, but at least then you're equipped to know 200's my max.
right.
300's my max, whatever that is. But you also have an idea of what that monthly payment is. And God, folks, I've had too many realtors send me contracts because the buyer and borrower, one and the same, just got an accepted offer, and they're now getting pre-approved.
Yeah.
And then when I tell them the monthly payment, they're like,
Oh,
wait a minute.
when I got online and did that,
exactly.
yes.
I wasn't going to
That's
name those
what- yep.
online places, but I quickly
I
tell
got
them. Because
online.
we'll even go to the link, and I'll say, open up the other information.
Yeah.
I said, do you see where property taxes is $7 a month?
Right.
Homeowners insurance is $13 a month on these online estimated payments. And I'm like, that doesn't exist. And they're like, well, that's why I made the offer. That's what I thought I could buy. Deal with a
talk
quality
to the
lender,
lender.
like Charlie said early on.
Yes.
David, with Churchill Mortgage here locally, here or in Kentucky, how can they get a hold of you, Ben?
Folks, always. You can look me up online. You'll see the office location is technically Owensboro, Kentucky, but it is for Indiana, Kentucky. Click on it. You'll see my cell number on the web, but give me a call. Give me a text, 270-222-0676.
Candace DeArmond. Candace, how can they best get a hold of you?
Well, they can reach me on my cell phone at 812-455-6338, or they can call the team phone, and that's 812-430-1708. No cheat sheet either.
I saw you. I was watching you. David's getting a picture of Candace right now.
I know. I had to hurry up and let me get my good
So,
side.
Charlie Butler, 812-499-7758. We will have you an offer on your home in 48 hours. Can have you multiple offers in 48 hours. So, again, 812-499-7758. Jordan, how many more weeks are you going to be with us?
No idea.
No idea. So
Until I am gone.
okay. So we'll just one day you won't be here, huh?
Just one day I will poof and magically disappear like the magical fairy I am.
Okay. Well, we're not going to talk about fairies here, but anyway. So for the I can't shut up Jordan Rose, David Crow, this is Candace DeArmond, this is Charlie Butler. Have a great Sunday.
You've got real estate questions but don't know where to get the answers? Tune in here every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. as Charlie Butler, Evansville's own real estate expert, shares the latest news, info, and insider tips to help you make smart real estate decisions. Find him online at charliebutlerteam.com. This program has been paid for by the Charlie Butler team. From the Kate Foppel Ford Studios, this is Newstalk 1280 WGBF.